Man, that was a horrible situation. I still learn from it though. Yeah, it seemed all bad. I still picked up something that I could take with me to learn from it. That's the topic of today's video. My name is Ayin, and that's what we'll be discussing. I'm thinking about what brought me to this topic. I'm thinking about some of the I wasn't looking for the word relationships. Some of the, I'll just say, some of the people that aren't in my life or are no longer in my life because we've just done separate, different things. And I've looked back over those interactions, and I've talked about some of these interactions on this channel of how, red flags might have been hitting me in the face where they've always been who they were, but I kept trying to, find ways to deal with things better that ultimately came down to me, either suppressing things or trying to step outside of who I was so I could allow them to be this big personality of who they were, and things just ultimately didn't work. And I'm not talking about relationships, I'm talking about friend relationships. Because they're different. They're different from the standpoint of there's just certain things that you don't have a vested interest in that you would in a relationship. So things don't run as deep. You can have friendships that run deep, but they're not going to run as deep as what a relationship would run, where there's certain things that you really need to see eye to eye with. You really need to be on the same page. So I'm really talking about, like I said, these past interactions, friendships, acquaintances, whatever the case may be, where they were negative experiences, but I still was able to take something away from crummy behavior that was in it. And it made me look back through some of these instances to see that even though ultimately I may have put the situation down because my circle had evolved, I've evolved, and it was just like it's no room for some of these things that are just foolishness now allowed up off in my life. I have made that conscious choice to remain healthy, knowing what I need and what I don't need to continue moving on. And it's not for me to, sell everybody on this idea. I'm the only one that has to accept this. I'm the one that has to accept this idea that I ain't as willing to grow. And with me looking back over those past instances, one of the things that had drawn me back in the past to either continuing on with how things were going or just getting caught back up in the loop of things, I would think back on some of the pleasant things that did take place. Even though, like I stated, it was crummy behavior, there were some learning experiences. But as I got older, then I saw too, some people are just, they can be manipulative. Sometimes there are some of the very topics that I talk about with this video. They have ways to roping you back up into things. And ultimately, at the end of the day, at the end of everything that's taken place, you're still wound up with confusion. So, like I've said in older videos that I've made, you have to look at the longevity. You have to look at the history of that relationship. And when you're looking back and you're just like, hey, look, this wasn't always like this, or was it? Or what's going on? As I've stated before, friends take years to develop. You don't just meet people and, hey, we're friends. Yeah, let's start going out. We're just, closest confidants. I'm going to tell you everything. This is the way that this is just going to be. If just so happens you look back and you do have a close friend and it took off just that way, then consider yourself lucky. But that relationship is still growing. It's still moving along. 2, sometimes you don't find out about people until certain things take place in their life, and if it ever changes them, the relationship, the interaction with you, or sometimes you may just see that things were always this way, but it was just that you were failing to see that. Contrary to what I just said. And so you may see that you are failing to see. But you get the point of what I'm saying. And with me thinking back, like I said, on these imperfect relationships, because everything is imperfect. What I'm talking about, they really didn't play out the way that I anticipated them playing out, or they actually ended, I still learned from them. It was things that I was able to take on and move forward with, because not everything is permanent. No matter how some of the things that we look at, we look at them and we may want them to be permanent, or we may not even see an end to them. Some things are. So one of the things you have to do to keep moving forward is not keep looking over your shoulder in the past. It's good to take some of those experiences so you can, not stumble further down the road. And you may rely on some of those experiences, both good and bad, but that's the point of this video that I'm taking away from it. And another reason for touching on this topic, I do have another reason for touching on it, is to allow you to let go of some of those negative thoughts, some of those negative feelings that you've had in the past that you may hang on to, because I know some people do that, and they use that to fuel them, and in not a good way, for going further down the road. So you have to look at, hey, you know what? Wasn't all bad. Surely it had to be something good, or something that I perceived as good for the relationship to go on. Some people may say, man, when I look back upon it, nothing was good. It was something. Or even if it was for the fact that maybe nothing was good, but you were at a certain point in your life to where you weren't doing better, you were just allowing anybody and anything into your circle, and it was unhealthy, at least you can look back on that to say, man, I've grown from that. Trying to pull something positive from it so you can set down some of that animosity that you might have had. That's the point of this video. Those are some of the things that I think back on when I think, instead of thinking, man, that was just like wasted time, I'm just like, hey, look, I did benefit in some shape, form, or fashion from this. Let me move on. Let's see if I can improve upon that. Just wanted to take time out to discuss that with you today. If you hadn't already, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on my other social media, Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram. Obviously, I'm on YouTube. This is where I'm hosting my videos at. Stay encouraged. Avoid being discouraged. I'm Ayin. You have a good one.